Well, hello, class. Welcome to the second week of this course. Hopefully, you're having a good start to the semester. If this is your only class, well, then I'm glad that you're here with me. If you also have on-campus classes, maybe I'll see you around campus too. But coming into the second week of this course, I thought I would give you another update. And like I said last week, I'd like to try to give you these weekly updates each week to give you feedback on either work that you're posting to the discussion boards or maybe some work that you submitted, or to answer any questions that I think that would be helpful to the whole class to hear an answer to. Because and don't be afraid to ask me questions. Like if you have a question, some of you have been doing this, feel free to send me an email directly. I'll try to get back to you within a day or two at the latest. But also what I'll try to do too, if I don't get back to you, that's usually probably because I'm trying to also probably going to respond to it in a video like this, which I'm also going to do too right now, talking about the required books for this class. I know that was a question that came up this week. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And also remember, I do have office hours on campus. And for those of you who are not near campus or just taking this as a remote class, I am also available during my office hours on Monday and Wednesday between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and Tuesday, Thursday between 10 and 11 a.m. Okay. If you need to reach me also on Fridays, I can be available too, but we should probably just arrange that on a case-by-case basis. But even if you want to, let's say, chat with me or do a video chat or just do a text chat of some sort, either through Skype or through Blackboard Collaborate, just send me an email and we can arrange that if you have any questions, if you want to talk one-on-one. All right, but I think these videos are valuable to everybody because I think it'll give me a chance to give feedback to not only just specific questions, but let it pertain to the whole group. So I think that would kind of make this class more informative for everybody. First thing I want to address is the announcement that hopefully everybody got this week, or actually got today, this morning, because I sent it out last night, is a question came about the required book for this class not being available in the NCC bookstore. Now, I'm sorry that this is the case. I was not aware of this, and thank you for making me aware of this, that this is an issue. This is the first time this has happened since teaching the course here. So, since this is the case, I'm probably not going to be able to remedy the book not being in the bookstore right away because they're probably going to have to order it and get it in, so it's still going to take them a little bit of time for them to get the book in. So, I would recommend, since the book is still required for this course, that you purchase it through Amazon or Barnes & Nobles, or there's a few online sites that allow you to either buy the book used or rent it, especially for college students. In the announcement, I included links. You'll see here. I have links to Amazon, I have links to Barnes & Nobles, and I have links to campusbooks.com. Campusbooks.com lists a variety of sources where you can rent the book, where you can buy it used. So I would check out these. And all these sites offer the book for approximately less than $20, averaging between $16 to $18, which is pretty much almost half the price, or more than half the price, than buying it new from the bookstore, from the NCC bookstore. So I'd recommend, even if the NCC bookstore had this in stock, I always recommend trying to find the cheapest option for purchasing the books or renting the books. And since this book only costs approximately between $16 to $18 online, I think it's a very reasonable cost, and you should have no problem getting them. Now, if you do not have access to it right now, if you haven't ordered or forgot to, or let's say you went to the bookstore this week or last week and you realize that they don't have it, then I'd recommend order as soon as possible. If you feel you need an extension this week because not having the book, because I am requiring a couple chapter excerpts for you to read them near like the middle to end of the book that cover some of the basic getting started with website project information and the website personas that we're working on this week. If you need to have the book, you don't feel comfortable completing the exercise, I'm fine with giving you an extension. You can have an extension until next week until you get the book to finish that up. But hopefully, with the videos that I've also supplied in the required reading and the links and the articles I've included in this course, hopefully that's enough content for you to grasp the material you need to understand in order to complete the exercise. But if you don't need to have the book, I'm totally fine with giving you extension until next week to complete this week's exercises. Okay, just let me know. Just give me a heads up near the end of the week. If you're not able to submit it, just let me know, and that's so I can expect your exercise next week. All right. So with that being said, let me talk about briefly the discussion board posts. And I wanted to take a look at those. You guys, particularly about the website summary. Okay, so there was 2 discussion board posts this week, because this week you are getting started with your first project in this course, which is Project A, which is redesigning an existing website. Okay. The reason why I'm asking you, you may be wondering why you're not allowed to maybe create a website from scratch. The reason why is that most times that when you're designing a project for, like, say, a website project, it's going to be a redesign project, because usually when you go designing a website, usually the company or group or person that you're designing the website for probably already has a website. Now, there are occasions definitely where you'll meet a client who does not have a website, and it'll be something from scratch. Okay, and that's definitely great. But most of the jobs will be redesign projects. So that's one reason why I'm requiring you to select an existing site to redesign. The other reason why is that I want you to have a reference point. I don't want you just to design strictly in a vacuum where you don't have anything to go on. Okay, I'd rather you pick a site that needs to be redesigned, that's actually a little bit older, that's dated. Maybe it's like 10, 15 years old or something like that. It's designed a long time ago, and it really needs some help with the design. And so it gives you a chance for having a good kind of foundation or starting point, especially from the content, like the copy, the text, the information about the company. You can get a lot of that information from the existing website. Okay, so I recommend you guys to select a website that needs to be redesigned. I tell my students both in this class and also in the advanced class, because we do a very similar project in the advanced class, but we spend a lot more time on the actual creating a design proposal, and spend a lot more time in actually building out a larger site in that course. But basically we do the similar redesign project, where I recommend my students, try to set the bar low for yourself. Try to select a site that's really badly designed, that really needs help. Because if you pick a site just because you're interested in that content, or interested in, let's say you're into, let's say it would be like sports, like you're into a specific sporting team, like a professional sports team, and maybe you'll pick I've had students try to pick a sports clothing company or something like that. That would be like have an online website, and their sites had a lot of issues with, maybe the sites are really large, maybe their design actually isn't that bad. They look like it was designed not too long ago in the past. So that's the type of site that I would not recommend for a redesign project. I'd recommend you to probably pick a smaller site, like a smaller company, like a 5 to 10 page site, and also a site that looks like it was designed for, let's say, a small company, like maybe 5 to 10 years ago or more. So it's a lot easier to approach that, rather than going on a site that's already been professionally designed and trying to redesign that. Okay, so try to set the bar low for yourself, and you'll set yourself up more for success. Also, too, before I go over your website summaries, I do list this in the information and the requirements for the project, and also here in the discussion board, that personal portfolio websites are not permitted. Okay, now since you're in the CD program, most of you will have the ARTA-285 portfolio workshop, and in that course, it's pretty all about creating and refining your portfolio, which includes a portfolio website. So you're going to have the opportunity in that course to design your own website. Okay, that's a bulk of the course. Okay, so I don't want you to just use this opportunity to design a portfolio website. And also, like I said, it kind of defeats the purpose that I initially said, that I want you to start from an existing site. Even if you have your own existing site and you think, okay, I have my own portfolio website and maybe I want to redesign it. Well, I want you to wait for that. Okay, wait for that in the future course, because you have the opportunity for that. I want you to select a community group, maybe a business. It could be a band. It could be pretty much anything. It's pretty open-ended, but it just has to have a specific market that it's trying to serve, and then like I said, it has to be an existing site that needs to be redesigned. All right, so let me take a look at some of your summaries. Let me take a look at some of those. I'm just going to go through these. Actually, I've not taken a look at these yet, so this will be interesting, kind of doing this on the fly and giving some instant feedback here. All right, so at least with the trend forecasting website, I'm just going to open this up real quick here. All right, it's kind of interesting. So the site looks like this trend forecasting website. Oh, for fashion trends. Okay, good. Lifestyle trends. Okay. It's interesting. Okay. So let me see. How many pages of the site here? Okay, it's not too bad. All right, so that's good. So it's kind of an interesting pick where The content, from a content perspective, it's not too much. It looked like it maybe have too many pages or maybe too large of a site that I'd want you to try to use for this project. But actually, it has a, maybe it is on the high end. It looks like it's probably 20 or more pages. So that is a little bit on the high end of the size of the site that I want you to redesign. Because also one of the requirements for your final redesign is that all the links have to be functional. Okay, you cannot just have links that go nowhere or maybe go back to its old site. That's not going to work. So when you go to redesign the project or redesign a website, and it's a live website on the internet, all the links have to be working, especially if they're links that meant to go to specific pages in the site. They have to be functional. So that's something I want you to make sure you're aware of. I do allow students sometimes, if they're good with picking a larger site, maybe trimming some of the content down or reorganizing it and having fewer links. I could be fine with that. But you have to describe why you're doing that and what's your reasoning behind that. All right, but one thing I was saying that from a design perspective, it's actually, I would say it's plain, but it's somewhat clean. It doesn't, it has like what I do like the nice kind of wide, 100% width, kind of headered and featured area up top and the navigation. It does get to be a little bit more vanilla, a little bit more plain, even though I do like how it's kind of varied up the layout from like left to right, with this kind of 2-column middle section body content over here. And also I do like how it has a strong footer, which you'll see me in future weeks when I talk about structuring the page and designing the page, especially when you get to the wireframing side of it, where having a strong footer and having that footer tie into the page, that's a very strong element. Let me actually look to see what Elisa's reasonings for pick this. So see things are positive on the site. Menu bars we talked about, yep, good. It's I could improve on number of sections. Menu bar, only having one menu bar. Seems like there's many options for opening pages, distracting top. Okay, maybe reorganizing the menu, working on the navigation. That could be good. Simplify the sections, forecasting blog. Okay. I think your plans are good. I do think that. But I think go back to what I previously said about this. So when we take a look at your final site, I'm going to be looking at your redesign site next to this site. So and also that kind of plays into how I'm going to grade this too, where your design has to be way better than the current design. So I think you could do it. Definitely, I'm not going to say this is a no, because I think it's a good size site. I think it definitely gives you some good content. And I think there are, like you mentioned, definitely areas that you could improve this. But it's not a horrible site. It's a site that like could easily be redesigned. You're going to have to take some thought and take some work. And I think you could be done. You just have to be creative and take some time on it. And I think this is definitely is possible, especially to make it more engaging. Maybe how you maybe make the layout a little more interactive and kind of visual with the eye and how the elements are arranged in the visual hierarchy of the page. I think there are definitely some opportunities here. And also you mentioned with the navigation. But one thing you may want to try to think about too is if you like this type of page or type of site, kind of staying with this lifestyle, fashion, sort of like looking from an industry perspective. If you like this, maybe still stay within the same market, but maybe, let's say, try to find a site that, like I said, is a little bit less new in a sense. Like when I look at the site, I bet this was designed definitely within the last 5 years. I would say maybe 3 years ago. It might have been redesigned because it's using a relatively flat scheme that's been popular the past few years. So I think that it's probably a relatively new site. So I would probably suggest if you could find an older site, that would be a little bit more, like I said, setting that bar low would be a little bit better. But like I said, I think you still go with it. It's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. And if you're up for the challenge, then go ahead. All right. Let's go back. All right. And Nicole there. All right. It was redesigned website for clothing store 6 p.m. So 6pm.com. All right. Let's take a look at the site. All right. So it's the clothing site. Okay. It's kind of same comments as before. This looks like a relatively new site, a new design that's already pretty clean, pretty organized. Navigation drop down actually is I kind of like that. So it kind of has some nice elements already kind of built into it. let's see what your comments are and what you were thinking about. I will be designing a site, clothing store. So doing some research, didn't like it was looking a bit plain. So you don't like it, the plain, flat look of it. Okay. By adding more colors, okay. Adding a different color palette, that could be good. Site with section for anyone on the front for the front page for men and women, okay. And you like, which I like, is simple search because it has too many words, selection categories. Okay, so you want to simplify it. Scroll down. I want to change type to be a bit longer. Okay, so it looks like you're just looking to probably simplify this. Okay, I think that's a possibility. But I guess a lot of the last, my comments I gave to Lisa and her site kind of pertains to this too, which it's, once again, it looks like a relatively new site. And since I bet there's a lot of clothing sites that maybe looks like this is trying to like more of a national brand, or just like a clothing website that serves, let's say has a national market to it. I bet you could find a similar site that maybe serves a smaller market. Maybe like, I'm not saying it has to be a local site, but maybe like a Southwest or Northeast or a West Coast style clothing site that would be pertaining to a smaller market that also maybe, once again, maybe where it was designed a little bit later. Because once again, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be comparing it. That's my job as your teacher here, is to see what design choices you're making. And also, when you guys are going to be submitting your work in your comps and for Project A, and then building your site up for Project B, you need to look at me as the client, okay? Because that's how I'm going to be approaching this, where I'm going to be looking at the site when you're submitting your design work. I'm going to be looking at this like a client would look at this. I worked with a lot of clients in the past, so I know what they would be expecting, okay? Especially for a client that would be saying, I'm not saying too that a client wouldn't want this site to be redesigned. They definitely would. I think there's like you brought up, there are issues and things you could do to liven it up, make it more engaging, simplify it in some areas. But once again, I think that makes more of a design challenge, because you're already starting off with a pretty strong design as it is. Okay, so I think it has a very strong kind of start to it. So I think that you have to be a little bit careful about what choices you're going to make, because the client, if you show, let's say you show them the initial comps, they're going to be comparing it to their existing site. So it has to blow them away. It has to be fabulous. Okay, but if they were starting with something that looked like it was designed 20 years ago, when the internet first came around, it was basically just text and a few images, they would be blown away by anything that you did. Okay, so I'm just trying to be honest with you, saying that when I'm going to be looking at this, I'll be also comparing to the existing site, especially when we go over your initial comps. And I'm going to be critiquing a little bit harder, because if you don't make drastic design improvements and that really change it in meaningful ways that would make sense for the client, then I'm going to comment on that. Okay, so just want you to know about it. I think that the type of site, like a clothing site, what it is definitely doable. I would probably, if I was you, I'd just selecting one that was a little bit smaller in scale, that served a smaller market, then once again was designed a little bit ago. Also too, let me take a look at this too. Another thing I'm also seeing too, the content, the amount of pages that this has is extremely a lot. And that's something that I mentioned with Elisa's site, where she's on the top end, her site that she picked, the fashion site that she selected, that did have a good amount of pages, definitely close to 20 or over 20 pages, look like, from the links that it was in the menu bar. But this is probably, if I would go through all these pages, you're probably looking at a 50-page, 100-page site. That's a lot of pages. Okay, do you want to redesign a 50-page or 100-page site? And so I wanted you to guys be prepared for that. When you're redesigning a project, I'm going to be expecting for you guys to have either you're going to need to rework the navigation to simplify it and to make sense for the company, like you would approach this in a real project. So you're going to need to have a matching pages. Okay, so that's why I said if you could find a small site already that has between 5 to 10 pages or maybe 20 pages at the max, well, you could easily, even if you have to rework the amount of those pages, you could easily work that probably into a 20-page or into a 10-page site. The requirement for this project, for your final project that's going to be Project B, after you do the design phase, is going to be a minimum 5 pages. Minimum 5 pages. So it has to meet that goal, but I also don't want you to feel like you have to build a 20 or 30 or 40-page site. That's crazy, okay? And that's definitely not you're going to get over your head on this. So I think some of your ideas was good. I think from what you could do with the site. But like I said, I think actually now that I'm looking at it, I think the content scares me more in the sense of like how large the content is. I think that's just going to be, especially if you try to reorganize this content and simplify it, and to do less pages, I think is gonna be a real huge pain. So even more than the design, because actually do think you could definitely improve the design and do some interesting things to it, like you mentioned in your post. But I think the content is definitely a concern. All right. Let me just go to the next one. All right, Marissa. Which site did she pick there? Called Chosen Project belongs to an online shopping service called Stitch Fix. To be honest, I'm not sure if this website is the best for me to choose. Did see some prunes I could add to it, but this company provides clothing for men and women. Okay. Project. Okay, let's see. Where is the website link that you for this website? I could Google this. Next time you post a link, when I ask you guys to post links or describe the site they're going to do, please include a link to the site there, even or a URL. Because I'm assuming this is, just Google this, I'm assuming this is it. All right. So let me see here. So starting off here, looks like the size of the site could be good. And I guess it's sorted, the site's organized by searching between men and women. Let me see what your other comments are. Shopping for it would be good to portion the page. Also like description step. Feels as if there would be there's a very limited description on the homepage. I agree with that. Second is only 3 links in the header. Okay. Possibly cleanest design. All right, good. And I think you actually have some good points. I think that's you could be on track. This definitely is kind of an interesting example. I think that it's very clean, and I think that has, like I said, from a design perspective, I think that it has a good foundation to it. Very clean style, but you bring up a good point. Like it's very simple. You come in here, you do have to select between men and women. Let me do that and see what options there are. So get started. Looks like they do like a personal fit or to you? Yeah, coming to this pages, they get to be more. Some issues there. I'm not sure if I would pick this person's legs coming down from this image there from the brick wall. That's kind of a little strange, but I do like the 100% width images, background images with text overlay top of it. So it has some elements. A little arrow going to the center. So it's interesting. It's almost like it has some interesting layouts, and I like it, but it looks like there's just some little cosmetic things that could definitely be improved on it. Let's look at how many pages there are. So I think there's not that. Let me see. There's come in here, really dig into the about page. So it looks like when you come into the FAQ, their support page, which has a lot. So it looks like the support site, they may be using a different site that it still fits within their theme, but it looks like it's kind of totally separate from the rest of their site. That's interesting. So with this, yeah, because they have a lot of information about underneath their on the support site. So not sure how to deal with that from a building out perspective of actually thinking about developing this. Let me see the style guide they have here. All right. All right, so it's interesting. This site actually does have a good amount of pages. And I think you may have seen this too, is that from the navigation was very simple and very, you don't really get a sense that the site has. Also, it looks like the site's being split between multiple sites now. Yeah, mensguide.stitchfix.com. So it actually looks like the site's interesting because it has a consistent theme, but they've split it between different websites, almost different systems that they're using. So that's another issue where, and that could be a design issue. Maybe your redesign would actually tie it all together. I think that could actually be something you want to try to solve, because that would actually be, I could totally see a client wanting to do this where, it has a consistent theme and a consistent feel to it, but maybe they want to tie that up even more, and they would bring a designer in to kind of help them with that, even though they're, to kind of bring their systems together. So, but once again, just like the other 2 sites that I suggested, I think now that I'm digging into this, there's a lot of pages here, a lot of different layouts. So you're going to have to account for that content. You're going to have to figure out how to deal with that. Now, But once again, if you, what I mentioned about reorganizing the content, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later, especially next week when we talk about the doing the wireframe and starting to kind of reorganize some of the content on the page. I think you could reduce some of the content that they have on these sub pages and kind of rework the navigation, like you mentioned, which definitely could build this out a little bit better. Add more information to the homepage. I think that my gut feeling of why they're choosing this approach is that they don't want to scare the user off with too many options. That when the user comes to this page, they see a woman and men link, and they said, okay, either women or men, or maybe you're looking for a man looking for women's clothes because you're looking for your wife or girlfriend or whatever. So maybe you are, they have a specific purpose of just going to those two sections, and so that's the primary purpose of getting the user to come to this page, click on either women or men, and go on to the next site. But they don't want to scare the user away by giving them a lot of options, a lot of content. They're going for more of a simplified approach of just giving them a call to action in this top section here, and just trying to get the user into the site as fast as possible. Or if you scroll down, also getting started by just asking them to fill out a form, which is common practice to kind of start that lead. It's a lead generation form to get them into actually, getting some information from them, like getting their name and email address, which is super valuable to the company so they can follow up with them. So it's interesting. I think this has some things that definitely work. And I think what they're trying to do, I think that their current design has some issues when you get deeper into the site. I think their homepage, I think, accomplishes what they're probably trying to do. So once again, I would say if you like clothing sites, if you like this domain, Marissa, if you want to kind of stay within this, I would try to find a smaller site, a smaller clothing site, one that's a little bit older. Even if it's a clothing style that maybe is not your preference. Okay, and I also think that it's very easy to come into this class and come into this course and design and pick a site that really something that you're interested in, which I do encourage, because you are going to be spending a good amount of time on the site. I want you to pick about a topic that you like, even though that's not going to be that way when you work on real jobs in the future. Work for clients, you're going to be designing sites that you are not going to use all the time either. It's going to be about products and markets that you're not in or you're not using. Okay, and you're going to learn about them. That's your job as a designer, is to learn about them and design for them, even though it's not your preferred domain. So you're going to be faced with the challenges all the time, and I want to balance that where, like, I'm not expecting that in this class, where I still want you to pick a topic that you are going to be designing for, but I want you to still push yourself. And so what I would probably suggest is, maybe if you want to stay in clothing, please do. Maybe find a site that's maybe for a clothing market, maybe for maybe for, I don't want to say senior citizens, but like an older demographic. Maybe even could be kids clothing. Maybe you don't have, even if you don't have a child yet, you could be just find one that's for very small children's. Maybe it could be a little bit something than you're used to thinking about. So it's still staying within the same type of area of clothing and design and fashion, but it doesn't kind of really tie you into something that it's like, because I'm seeing the site here, and it looks like this is something that you like or that you prefer, which is totally fine. But once again, I'm trying to set you guys up for success. And if you can pick a site that is a little bit, needs to be redesigned a little bit more, or has, like I said, also from a content perspective, I think as you dig in the site, it has a lot of content to deal with. Then I think that there could be some issues there. All right, continue on. All right, Laura. Digital planner website. Let's see what this is. Website proposed to make for class is a digital planner website. Looking to create something similar to Cozy, but much better designs. Okay, let me see here. Cozy.com. Take a look at that. All right. Take a look at Cozy.com. All right, so, boy, you guys got to give me some horrible websites. Like, all these websites do not need to be redesigned that much. That's why I'm like, ugh. But I think what you're trying to say is you want to create a site like this, Laura. So, and I could see that. I think there actually are a lot of good digital planner websites. I'm not sure how new they, depending upon how many the new features that they have. Some may be, most of them probably really new. But I like the area. I like the domain. I like the from a content perspective, I think definitely has a good amount of pages here. But once again, the site, like I said, I'm not saying, and you just use as an example, and you are not saying you're going to redesign the site. So that's what I'm not saying at all, because this site looks like it was just redesigned last year. So I think that I think it's a good reference site. It's a great reference site. It has some good things going to it. Some nice layouts, some nice images, good typography, a nice interesting visual hierarchy as you just kind of scroll down through the page. Makes it interesting. Nice sections to find. So I think it's a really good reference site for a future design. If you want to kind of use this as like a good model to work from, please do. This is actually a really great site to use from a design perspective. I think it has a lot of things going for it. But this is a redesign project. So what I'd recommend you doing is finding a already existing organizing site that you're going to redesign. Even though you like this cozy family organizer site as maybe from this list of features or pages or the design that it has, you could definitely use this as a reference point. So let's say you find maybe you could find like maybe a personal organizer. Maybe it could be looks like this is like an automated system, right? Like an app, right? Maybe you could find a site that does personal organization, but it's more of like a one-to-one thing. Like maybe it's a company that does consulting or one-to-one organizer, like a personal organizer for people. Maybe they, so they work one-on-one with one person or a family to help them organize their schedules and kind of maybe run errands or schedule things for them. Maybe you could find a site like that, and then maybe you could kind of say, okay, the site they want to redesign because they're going to redesign like cozy.com and launch it as an app, like an automated service, and kind of integrate or to augment their existing one-to-one service. I bet if you Google personal organizer, like a personal assistant, I think you'd find a lot of pages, especially if you do like personal assistants. I think they're usually personal sites. I think you'd find a lot of options for that. And that may be one way to take this. Maybe say like you want to kind of stay within the organizing space, please do. I think that's a great space to work from. But I think that like I said, you want to have a site to start from. I mean, it has to be a site they're going to redesign. And I think there are options you can kind of play with this. So, keep this cozy site as a reference site. But you need to find a site that you actually are going to redesign. Okay, even if the site's just a one-page site, maybe, like I said, if you do some searching for personal assistants or personal organizers, there could be one-page sites, one-page marketing sites, and it could definitely give you a good kind of starting point for the redesign project, because that's would mimic a job that you would have. Usually when companies start off or people start with their own businesses, they're just going to throw up a one-page website just to kind of get something up there. But then after they've been in business for a little bit, or maybe they're launching a new product, then they'll launch a new site and they'll be hiring a designer to actually help them build out that site. So that could actually be a good could mimic a good project for that. All right. So like I said, if you have questions about that, please let me know. But I would recommend trying to find a site to redesign. All right, I think we have one more that was posted here. Justin's. Let me take here. Redesigning bodybuilders.com. Okay. Bodybuilding.com. All right. Let's see here. All right. So it's kind of interesting, just like the first site we looked at. I think you probably are bringing up some organization issues I'm seeing right away. If they jump out of his negative, need to change, ease of use. When I first opened the site, overwhelmed. Okay, too much. Yeah, too much information. Totally can see that. At the business page, I think it's worse. I'd like to focus away from product ads, point the radio towards article work play instead. All right, I think, once again, the domain, staying within the bodybuilding domain, is definitely, I think, is great. It's a great kind of area to kind of focus on for this project. And I like your ideas. I do. But once again, just like kind of the same comments, I don't want to kind of sound like a broken record, because today that a lot of the same comments about content, about the existing design, once again, I kind of have the exact same issues with the site here, which, like I said, it definitely could use some work in a sense from an organizational standpoint and how you're envisioning that this would be. I think it's almost like you want to turn bodybuilding.com in more of a personal site, which I think is totally a reasonable request. But if you think about it from a client's perspective, they may not want that. Because look at what are they trying to do? They're trying to sell you product. They're a product site. That's what they're selling you. They're selling products from from their suppliers or their vendors that they're selling products that they're doing. They want to sell you product, and that's what they're marketing. That's 100%. Now, let's say we would stay within the bodybuilding domain and go to maybe a personal trainer. They may have a product line that they may be trying to sell you, but they're also trying to sell you services, and they're trying to get you as a client. Then the things that you're thinking about building, like articles and workout plans, that would be the focus of that site. Okay, so if you're going to be having like a personal trainer, or maybe it'd be a company that would be supplying personal trainers, or maybe it'd be a company where you'd be hiring your own, going there and trying to find a group to work with, then seeing workout plans, seeing articles, that would be a primary thing that they would have on their site. But bodybuilding.com, just by looking at it, I don't even have to look at much of the site. Even the stores, like the first link, they want to sell you products. They want to have products on the first thing you see on the page. That's their mission. So if you would approach them as a client saying, we want to get rid of all your products on the homepage and we want to replace them with articles and just information about workout plans, they'd be like, well, how are we going to sell product? And they'd be like, oh, well, people are going to read the articles. Then you could put ads inside the articles, maybe on the side and at the end. But we want to sell product. And so I totally get what you're saying. And I totally think having articles and workout plans and then selling products along with that is a great way it's a great user experience. I agree with you. It's definitely you as a reader, you as a user, you want to see that in a site. That's more informative to you. And then you would buy products from a site that gave you good articles and gave you good workout plans. But from them as a company, and especially if this is a big company, bodybuilding.com, they don't need that. Like, they're probably so well known. They have ads in all bodybuilding magazines that they don't need to have. Like, they do probably have articles like under probably nutrition. They probably have articles, find a plan. That's where they could, like I said, they probably have articles about setting up diet plans and weightlifting plans. So they do have those things you're asking for. But they just push them aside because they're secondary. Because in the end, they don't really need them. They almost look at those as like a side service that would definitely give them a little bit more business. But their primary business is really just marketing and just getting product out there, seeing what the products that they sell, and trying to what's more important to them probably for theirs is like they're listing here, best product promotions. And if you look at their featured area up here, they're probably highlighting new products or new sales or top sellers. So they're really pushing their products. So I do think that some of the comments you suggested, I can see that, and I totally get that. But like I said, once again, I'm approaching this redesign project from a client's perspective and what they would be looking for. Okay, so my suggestion to you is stay within the same space. Once again, I'm pretty much giving you the same advice to every single person here that submitted sites here. Stay within the same space you're thinking about, but try to find something that's small. And I think for you too, if you find like a personal trainer site, like that has a one-page website, that would be a perfect scenario to go from, because then you can have a good page here. Let me just do a search here. I'm just gonna this is what I do in my on-campus class. We'll just do this on the fly here. Personal training site. Personal training, personal trainer. We'll do that. We'll do personal trainer. We'll also stay here in the Lehigh. We'll do like probably sometime maybe in the Lehigh Valley, maybe. Let's see here. PA personal training. What is this website here? It's in Bethlehem. Expect to get fit. What is this? Expect to get fit. Personal get fit home personal trainers. Do they have a website? Let me find. See if they have a website. Expect to get fit. Let me see what this is. Looks like it's a chain. Boom. Perfect site. This is what I'm talking about. Because if I showed the site to you and said, does this site need to be redesigned? I think everybody in our class, everybody in our school would say, yes, this needs to be redesigned. Very, very simple, very flat, very restricted from a width standpoint. The content is not organized very well. The navigation is not very well defined. This site, honestly, you could almost design anything and it would be improvement on top of this. You could put an image. You could just put a single image on a page with some nicely formatted typography and type below that and organize some columns. Huge drastic improvement with this already has. From a content perspective, There's actually not that much for you to work from. They do have pages for each one of the personal trainers, but this is kind of what I was talking about, where I think personal training is a super popular thing that almost everybody probably has a website, but they're probably, most of them are not designed very well. So I would do some searches. This advice goes for everybody in the course here, because I know, and this is what this second week is meant to do. It's meant to give you some time to figure this step out, because I want you guys to, even if you have to go back and forth and change up your idea, okay? Because right now the two exercises I'm asking you guys to work on this week is, let's go in the course units here. Under week 2, I'm asking you guys to work on the wireframing and the your user personas, okay? Now, both of these, and if you watch my videos on there, I kind of walk you through, creating the user personas and creating the wireframes should be a relatively quick process, okay? But what I'm going to do here, because I gave you a lot of advice, and now I'm thinking about it's Thursday. I'm going to extend this out, from past this weekend. If you guys need a little bit more time going into next week, you're just going to have to, I can't push back with next week's content. But for this week, if you guys need a little bit more time or this weekend to refine your ideas, to refine your what you want to work, the site that you're going to work on, I still think if you stay within the same space, the same domain, a lot of the information you put together for your user personas, and even your wireframing, because I think you guys do have good ideas from how you want to lay out your site. I think you're on track with that, and I think I'll be interested to see what your wireframes are. So I actually think you might not need to redo that much. But like I said, what I really want you to do is to select a site that's going to be easier for you to redesign based on all the kind of issues that I mentioned. So hopefully that's valuable to everybody. If you guys have questions about this, please send me an email. I'm going to be traveling this weekend, but I'll have my laptop. So if you want to send me an email, I should be able to get back to you for that. But also, like I said, if you need a couple more days, and I don't want you to be too stressed that if you need to rework your site idea, and so maybe that affects the content you've written for your user personas and your wireframing that you've done, then take a couple more days. If you submit it by Tuesday or Wednesday, I think that would be fine, because I think that you wouldn't be too far behind, and you would still be on track with next week's exercises too. Because we had to keep moving this course, because the first half of this course, first few weeks, is pretty fast from a design perspective, because we have to work through these concepts and these this information relatively quickly, because spending time on HTML and CSS and building out the web pages is going to take a lot of time in this course. So, I'm expecting you guys to come in here. Everybody's taking computer graphics, so everybody knows how to use Photoshop or an Illustrator. Everybody has some design experience with those courses. So, when I'm asking you to create a wireframe, or I'm asking you to start to put together like your style tile, which you work on next week, or like your web comps, you guys are already comfortable with the applications you're going to be using. So that should be, you really just need to be focusing on the right way to do the actual design of the web page, which that's what these this week, next week, and the following week is all about. Okay, we're spending a lot of time. I'll be doing a lot of these updates now. I'm thinking about it, where I'm going to ask you guys to post to the discussion boards, especially when you get closer to finishing up Project A and wrapping up your websites here. I will ask you guys to post work in progress versions. And then I'll give you comments, feedback, okay? Because I want to try to set you guys up for success, especially for these projects. So the whole point of doing these exercises in the beginning is to break your project into small pieces, small manageable pieces, and also gives me a chance to give you feedback, okay? So that when you then get to the final stage of putting together your final design comps for the website that you're redesigning, you'll have more information to go on, rather than just kind of designing in the vacuum, not getting too much feedback from me or from your fellow classmates. We want to make this as interactive part of the process. And if I had the class with you in person, I'd be giving you comments every day. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is each week I'm going to be giving you these update videos. Please watch them. Please also comment on them. Maybe what I'll do is, I'm not sure, I'm just doing this as announcements right now. I'm going to kind of continue doing that, just post some announcements. But what I may do is I may start a whole new discussion board for these weekly updates, so that if we want to continue on the discussion about something I said in these videos, we can do that all within discussion boards. I think, kind of doing this all together as a group, and for me to comment on each one of your work or your pieces that you're designing, as a group is super, super valuable to everybody. Because, if I say something, giving some advice or some recommendations or feedback to one person, it may be informative or beneficial to somebody else. Okay, I don't know. And that's why I want to try to do this out in the open. This is where I manage my classes on campus. I try to, when we do the critiques and we talk about your ideas and your designs, we do it in an open forum. Okay, because I think being able to talk about your work, be able to get feedback and be able to process that feedback and be able to improve your designs is one of the most important things, skills that you need to have as a professional designer. And that's what, this web class, Intro to Web course, is kind of one of the first steps in teaching you how to be a web designer and showing you some of the expectations about when you go into the real world, what's going to be expected. And I'm not expecting after this class for you guys to be expert web designers. This is an introductory course. It's just showing you some of the fundamentals and the basics. But it's meant to prepare you for our future web courses. Like we have web animation, which is our second web course, and then the advanced website design course, which I teach on campus. And those courses are those, especially the advanced web course, that's meant to teach you to be a professional web designer. So it's meant for you to take all the skills that you've learned, all the fundamentals, and how to use those skills and to build professional, not just designs, but also full websites. And that's going to be an expectation coming out of our program and for our students to know how to do that. All right. So hopefully you guys found that is informative. This was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but I think hopefully you guys, the feedback was good. And I want you to keep pushing with your ideas, keep going with it. Don't stop what you're doing. And like I said, I think all of the areas that you picked that you want to do sites on are great. I think some of your ideas for what you would put into a design, I think makes sense. And I think are really, really good. But I would just recommend, like I said, try to think about that exact site that you're going to be redesigning, because it'll definitely set yourself up for an easier time for not just the design phase for Project A, not just doing the design comps, but also when we go out and build that site, that 5-page site for your final project. Okay, so it's definitely going to be a lot easier there. All right, so like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Also too, I usually like to do these announcements on a Friday or Saturday because I want to give everybody a chance to respond to or post the initial discussions post to the discussion boards. Because I only see that 5 of you have done it already. So I know probably still of you are maybe still thinking about which site you're going to be designing. And what I'll do is I'll probably touch base maybe later in the week, see if there's anything that needs to be addressed or any new posts. But I'm just going to reference pretty much this video for my comments for the existing posts. And also, too, like I said, when you guys are posting for the discussion board, try to get your posts in by Wednesday, Thursday at the latest. I'm going to try to wait till Friday or Saturday to give you feedback so that I can try to read as many of the posts as I can. And I also like to do them live. I like to kind of see that and kind of give you feedback. I think it's kind of interesting so that we can kind of have a discussion together. So please try to get your posts in as early as you can during the week. And then when I look at them on Friday into Saturday, and then when I do these update videos, I can give you some feedback, and that would be hopefully be valuable to you. But like I said, I want to be able to give you feedback as much as possible to making sure that you are, have success in this course, which is really, really important to me. All right. So hopefully you guys have a good weekend, a good holiday weekend. Have fun. And let me know if you have questions. Please send me an email if you have questions about your projects, the exercise. Like I said in the beginning too, if you need to have an extension. And like I said, I'm offering that extension up to everybody this week too, not just because for the book, but I think this week is so important to get you guys off on a right foot with the sites that you're going to be redesigning. So if you need to take a couple more days to refine the idea or try to find that perfect site that would be a great redesign project in this course, then I want to give you guys a little more time. So feel free to take a couple more days. But like I said, you're going to need to have that nailed down by Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest, because going to, getting over the next 2 weeks, we're really going to start pushing the design part of the of this course. So we need to make sure you have an understanding of what you're going to be designing. All right. So I'm looking forward to seeing future posts, and also next week, looking forward to seeing some of your designs then. All right. So have a good weekend.